Right, here's the thing. We'll do this. We'll now do the other end of the equation and get this really awkward topic off the table immediately, which goes on the other end of the equation. Like, Masuuta's the young player who's up and coming and maybe he's got a future. Obviously, the player who literally has no future in this particular Vitality and is always this focal point of scrutiny is Kyojin, because he is also the guy who was supposed to be next in this talent pipeline where they brought in Masuuta and they had Nivera, and then it was, another one. They found Kyojin. They haven't found anything. Like, Kyojin, if people don't know, even when they make finals and these deep runs in tournaments, he tends to have some of the worst stats in the tournament. Like, I think if you go look now, he's something like, he's like 18th off the bottom of the tournament board and they're in the bloody final. So I want to know for both of you, we'll start with you, Dust. Like, what do you think of this player? Like, what are the issues? How did, and crucially, if you can address it, how do they function when they have a player who effectively has always bad stats? How do they play around that? Because they seem to succeed despite it.
It's like that NPC in your party that you just have to kind of walk around with in the RPG game. It's just one of those things where he's just never really had a moment where he showed promise, in my opinion. Like, his ratings have always been in the toilet. He's just never really risen to the occasion. I don't know if it's because of, like, maybe there's just some role he's supposed to be playing that he's not getting to play on this team because other people are already kind of filling that capacity. So I don't know if maybe he just got off on the wrong foot in that regard. I don't know too much about his history. It seems like he kind of just bounced around a bunch of different teams before. I think that's like the big thing people don't realize. It's not like he was one of those up-and-coming French players who had a long tenure on like a Heretics or some of these other teams that were kind of just below Vitality. He kind of bounced around and didn't have many tournaments under his belt before Vitality even, like maybe just a handful of events, and didn't even really start playing official results until like 2019, and he's 22 years old. So it seems like he's had a bit of a later start in that regard compared to some of the other up-and-coming players that you see. And honestly, man, like whenever you watch games from Vitality, when you watch Masuuta play, you actually see the value that he can bring. You can kind of see the value in the role that he can put on the team. Even if he's not necessarily putting up the numbers, you're like, okay, I can kind of see like at least like where he falls into place and like how he can maybe do something that doesn't just jump off the stats or something like that. But when I watch Kyojin, man, outside of him just being in the mix on some of their like opening exchanges to try to help create some space, and the fact that at times he shows some like hints of aim, like some hints of mechanics where you're like, okay, like maybe he does have that first bullet accuracy or at least that ability to get a trade frag or something like that, but just not consistently enough. Like, he just hasn't really done anything to make me hope that he's going to develop, honestly.
Where are you at on this one, King T? Because one of the things I tried to stress there as well is, like, I don't want to just bash him because he has bad numbers, but I do think the fact that, like, I don't even know really how they do it, how they make him work in the team. At certain spots they do give him, I do think are a little bit cynical, like they are the spot that the guy can just die at Ascension, he can play around. But I'm amazed that, like, mentally they hold it together. Remember, they know the team's sort of dead. If anyone, they could just phone this in and go, oh, this guy's terrible, or he's never improved, or whatever. What do you think about how they're using him in this team, or what the situation is with Kyojin?
Well, they brought him in when they lost RPK or cut RPK. It was a bit of a rough patch for the team in general. And he's got first bullet aim, as Dust mentioned, most of the time looks nice. You see him on the Deagle, he can be threatening. And yeah, trade frag, he might walk out, hit a headshot that looks pretty. But a lot of what RPK's did that was so great was positional play and being in the right place and making the right play at the right time. And that's all game sense. And I don't want to be harsh, but he doesn't have any. And not at this level. He might be good enough for Pugs. He's essentially made a career off of YouTube highlights, from what I know. And that's great and all, but it's not the same thing as actually getting game reps, win a proper team, and especially a team at this level. He wasn't ready coming in, and I don't think he's learned fast enough to really justify his spot. They've used him in a way that's sometimes kind of hiding him, sometimes just put him in an initial exchange early, trade him off, there we go, move on. And I think it's working just because Kyojin seems quiet. He'll quietly accept it, do it, not make a fuss, not make a stink, calm what he needs to calm, and then be quiet the rest of the round. So they basically just playing 4v4s, hoping to trade him out and then keep going, or put him in a corner, put him in the back of Inferno's pit and hopefully win the round elsewhere. He does have the occasional moment where his aim shines through, but it's so rare, it's too occasional. That's the issue.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.